An article, published recently in the South China Morning Post, attempted to argue that South Korea is hinting that India is not a suitable US ally and Quad member. The author argues that South Korea's closer alignment with the US and the West on various geopolitical issues, compared to India's stance, is highlighting India's ill fit as a US ally and a Quad member. The article discusses a recent meeting between the leaders of Japan and South Korea. The meeting has led to both countries' leaders mutually visiting each other again after a 12-year break. South Korea also said that it would no longer demand Japanese companies compensate the Korean victims of forced labor. The author says that the relationship between the two countries, which had been tense, is becoming better. The article highlights that the recent positive developments in the relationship between Japan and South Korea are driven, in large part, by the perceived threats from China and North Korea, and that the United States stands to gain significantly from these developments. The US has been pushing for the two countries to put aside their differences and work together to address shared challenges, such as the threat posed by North Korea and the rise of China. The author also argues that with Japan and South Korea finding more common ground, India increasingly appears to be a misfit within the US alliance system. The article highlights that India has dragged its feet in the Quad, stonewalling efforts to define it as a security coalition aimed at China. And its different stance on certain issues could create a sense of misalignment with the US alliance system. The article also discussed the recent AUKUS deal, which involved the US and Britain providing nuclear-powered submarines to Australia, was seen as a move to expand US options in the region beyond the Quad. The article suggests that if South Korea were to join the Quad, it could potentially increase pressure on India. This is because South Korea has stronger military ties with the United States and is more closely aligned with the US on several geopolitical issues, such as sanctions against Russia, concerns about human rights abuses in Xinjiang and Taiwan. In contrast, India has not shared Washington's views on these sensitive issues, remaining largely silent on Taiwan and abstaining from the UN resolution on Xinjiang. Additionally, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has drifted ideologically further away from the US and its allies. These divergent positions suggest that South Korea may be more amenable to joining the Quad than India, given its closer alignment with the US and its allies. And, as the connection between Japan and South Korea gets better, it may become clear that India doesn't belong in the US alliance structure, the report says. The article is highlighting the areas of disagreement and concern between India and the US on several issues, including Kashmir, the Citizenship Amendment Act, and the recent crackdown on the BBC's offices in India after the release of a documentary about Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and the US State Department's report on human rights in India are cited as examples of these concerns. Overall, the article is providing an analysis of the complex dynamics at play in the region, including how India's position on these issues may impact its relationships with other countries and its potential for joining the Quad. It is true that India has, for the most part, adopted a neutral stance on a number of topics, such as the war between Russia and Ukraine, and has not voted on UN resolutions that criticize Russia's activities, even though the US urged India to stop being neutral and join its side. But this is in line with India's long-standing policy of not joining any alliances, and its focus on keeping good ties with all nations, including Russia. Whether or not India can abandon its neutral position on Russia and join its side like other member countries in condemning Moscow is a matter of political and strategic decision-making. India's foreign policy is driven by a number of factors, including its national interests, regional security concerns, and its historical ties with countries like Russia. While India has sought to maintain its strategic autonomy and not align too closely with any particular power bloc, it has also shown a willingness to cooperate with the US and other countries on issues of shared concern. On the other hand, Quad was initially formed to ensure a free, open, and prosperous Indo-Pacific region in the face of China's growing assertiveness. And the major difference between AUKUS and Quad is that the AUKUS is a military alliance, whereas Quad is not, it is a diplomatic alliance. While the Quad's primary focus remains on the Indo-Pacific, the US has also signaled its intention to apply the principles of the Quad to other regions, including Europe, and for this, India has not expressed any anger or opposition to the idea of South Korea or any European countries joining the Quad. In fact, India has been open to the idea of expanding the Quad's membership to other countries that share its vision of a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific region. However, this is just one perspective, and there may be differing opinions on the matter, because each country's relationship with the United States, or the Quad, is complex and multifaceted, and cannot be reduced to a simple comparison of compatibility.